Welcome to our U.S. briefing program. Today, we dive into the latest developments in international trade as Australia's Trade Minister, Farrell, makes a strong case against President Trump's proposed tariffs on steel and aluminium. Farrell argues that these tariffs threaten American jobs and shared defense interests, and he is lobbying for an exemption similar to one granted in 2018. Prime Minister Albanese is set to discuss this critical issue directly with Trump, as Australian officials continue their negotiations regarding these tariffs. In sports news, the Philadelphia Eagles have made headlines by defeating the Kansas City Chiefs in a stunning Super Bowl showdown, preventing the Chiefs from achieving a historic three-peat. The Eagles showcased an impressive performance, with quarterback Jalen Hurts leading the charge and the defense stepping up to contain Mahomes. This victory marks the Eagles' second Super Bowl title, and it was a momentous occasion with President Trump in attendance, making it a game to remember. Lastly, President Trump has issued an order to halt the production of pennies, citing their high production costs as a wasteful expense. This move ties into broader efforts to cut government spending, and while the penny has been a staple of American currency since 1793, its practicality is now being questioned. As discussions around the future of low-denomination coins continue, it raises interesting points about the evolution of currency in our economy. Please stay tuned for more detailed coverage. South China Morning Post reports that Australia's Trade Minister, Farrell, is actively seeking an exemption from President Trump's proposed 25% tariffs on steel and aluminium imports. Farrell emphasized that Australian exports not only create well-paying jobs for Americans but also play a critical role in shared defense interests between the two nations. As Australia pushes for fair trade access to the U.S. market, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese plans to discuss the tariff issue directly with Trump. Meanwhile, Defense Minister Richard Marles has engaged with U.S. officials as Australia continues to invest in U.S. defense industries through the AUKUS project, highlighting the interconnectedness of their economies and security. Al Jazeera covers the Philadelphia Eagles' stunning victory over the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl, denying the Chiefs a chance to make history with a third consecutive win. The Eagles dominated the game with a commanding 40-22 score, showcasing an impressive performance led by quarterback Jalen Hurts, who threw for 2 touchdowns and ran for another. The Eagles' defense stifled Chiefs star Patrick Mahomes, forcing him into mistakes and ultimately securing the franchise's second Super Bowl title. The game was notable not only for its one-sided nature but also for the high-profile crowd, including President Trump and pop icon Taylor Swift, marking a memorable event in NFL history. In another development reported by South China Morning Post, President Trump has ordered the U.S. Treasury to cease the production of penny coins, citing their costliness as a wasteful expenditure. Trump highlighted that the expense of minting pennies exceeds their actual value, urging for budget cuts even at the smallest scale. While the idea of eliminating pennies has been debated in Congress for years without resolution, Trump's directive could lead to significant changes in currency handling, potentially rounding prices to the nearest 5 cents. The move echoes Canada's earlier decision to eliminate pennies, reflecting a growing sentiment that these coins are more of a nuisance than a necessity in modern transactions. Al Jazeera reports that President Donald Trump has declared plans to impose a 25% tariff on all steel and aluminium imports, with reciprocal tariffs for countries that impose duties on U.S. goods. Trump emphasized the need for fairness in trade, stating that the U.S. cannot continue to be charged excessively while imposing no tariffs in return. Canada, being the largest supplier of steel and aluminium to the U.S., is particularly impacted by this decision, with Canadian officials arguing that their exports support key U.S. industries. Trump's tariff threats are part of a broader strategy that has included previous tariffs on Canadian, Mexican, and Chinese goods, and he hinted that the European Union might be next on the list. CNN highlights Trump's recent directive to halt penny production, citing the rising costs associated with minting the coin, which now costs over 3 cents to produce. This move is seen as a step towards eliminating wasteful expenditures in the national budget. The penny has faced criticism for years, with advocates calling for its abolition, and even discussions about discontinuing the nickel. The decision aligns with a growing sentiment that the penny is no longer a practical currency in modern transactions, and Trump's action reflects a push for efficiency in government spending. According to the South China Morning Post, Gyalo Thondup, the elder brother of the Dalai Lama and a pivotal figure in the Tibetan struggle for autonomy, has passed away at the age of 97. Thondup played a crucial role in establishing international support for Tibet, liaising with both Indian and U.S. governments and facilitating dialogue with China. His efforts included recruiting Tibetan fighters and initiating peace talks with Chinese leaders, marking a significant shift from armed resistance to diplomatic negotiations. The Dalai Lama acknowledged Thondup's immense contributions during a prayer session, highlighting the concerns within the Tibetan community about the future leadership as the older generation of advocates begins to fade. Guardian Kosovo's parliamentary elections have set the stage for a significant political shift, as the ruling Vetëvendist party, led by Prime Minister Albin Kurti, appears to have lost its outright majority. With 73% of votes counted, Vetëvendist secured 41.99%, a notable decline from the previous elections over 50%. Despite this setback, Kurti remains determined to lead the next government, although he will need to negotiate coalitions with other parties. The election campaign has been contentious, with the opposition conceding defeat yet highlighting their own vote counts. Political analysts suggest that while Kurti's popularity has risen due to government control over Kosovo's ethnic Serb-majority north, challenges remain, particularly regarding education and health services. The European Union has also imposed economic sanctions on Kosovo, complicating the political landscape as the country continues to navigate its relationship with Serbia and its traditional allies. Associated Press Cardinal Michael Czerny, the Vatican's key figure on migration and development, has expressed deep concern over the Trump administration's proposed cuts to USAID and its strict immigration policies. In a candid interview, Czerny emphasized the moral obligation to care for migrants, asserting that the current crackdown is causing fear and distress among vulnerable populations. He pointed out that while it is within a government's rights to review its foreign aid budget, dismantling established programs disrupts essential commitments to aid organizations like Catholic Relief Services. The Cardinal noted that the USAID budget represents a tiny fraction of the U.S. GDP, yet its impact on humanitarian efforts is profound. He criticized the administration's approach to immigration enforcement, labeling it a poor method of governance that undermines justice. Czerny, echoing Pope Francis' call to welcome and protect migrants, urged a more compassionate response to those fleeing hardship, reinforcing the Church's commitment to supporting the most vulnerable. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.